The Middle Eastern countries have sometimes found themselves caught in a tug of war in that economic trade war, especially new U.S. policy on what's called 5G. Our senior U.S. correspondent Mike Wagenheim spoke to the U.S. Undersecretary of State for Economic Growth, Energy, and the Environment about those growing tensions between U.S. and China and Israel's place in that precarious middle.
Israel specifically spent a decade or more building up a hugely rich relationship with China. Chinese infrastructure investment in Israel is worth hundreds of millions of dollars. That appears to be evaporating very quickly. Is this really truly about national security, or is this an extension of a trade war that the president has not been able to get China to concede on yet? And therefore, countries like Israel are caught in between, having to choose for Israel between its most powerful and natural ally in the United States, and on the other side, having to choose in desperately needed investment from China. Are countries just, kind of being played for pawns right now in this trade war between the U.S. and China?
By the way, I don't see a trade war. What I see is I see a real and urgent threat to democracies around the world. CCP wants to extend that surveillance state. So it is about Israel's national security. I mean, Israel, pound for pound, has the most technology in the world, and they want that. So if you look at the Chinese Communist Party's doctrine, it goes their economic warcraft doctrine goes back to 3,000 years ago, their military doctrine of, the doctrine of the warring states. That's Sun Tzu, the art of war. If you're strong, act weak. If you're weak, act strong. Highest paid guy in the army is a spy. Speed is the ultimate weapon. And another part of their doctrine is parasitic relationships. So in 1949, they attached the parasite onto Russia. And then, probably around the late 70s, they attach it onto the United States, and they sucked us dry in terms of intellectual property and all kinds of things, whether it's forced technology transfer, buying our companies, you name it, spies, all that. I think Israel probably appreciates it more than anybody. And by the way, and the president's woken up the citizens of the U.S. So now that parasite is going to find another host. And by the way, what could be a more prime target than the country of Israel?